Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Instant Deck Tech. So as you know, Monday means it's Modern Monday here in Instant Deck Tech land, and we have a super sweet mono black Reanimator deck to check out today. So this one comes to us from one of the infamous small Japanese tournaments, but I don't have a player's name, unfortunately. The site I found the list from was having some naming issues, so if this is your deck, congrats to you because it's super sweet. A quick reminder before we break down Mono Black Reanimator for Modern. If you enjoy this deck and you want to see it made into videos, take a minute, click the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, anything you can do to support your deck, because whichever deck is most popular gets a shot at being made into videos next week. So Mono Black Reanimator starts off looking pretty typical. We start off with Goryo's Vengeance, the fastest, cheapest, most efficient reanimation spell in Modern, so it only hits legendary creatures, and they go away at the end of turn, unfortunately. However, it's only 2 mana, which means if we can discard one of our big finishers, maybe on turn 1, we can just close out the game super quick by reanimating something huge. As far as reanimation targets, these two are fairly typical. We got 4 Griselbrands, 4 Emeralds. So Griselbrand, pretty easy. If we discard it on turn 1, turn 2 we get it back, hit our opponent for 7, gain some life, draw 7 or 14 cards, set up for the kill the following turn, hopefully finding another Goryo's Vengeance and an Emerald. Emerald's a bit trickier. It does shuffle our library into our graveyard when it enters the graveyard. However, since Goryo's Vengeance is an instant, we can reanimate it with that trigger on the stack, so in response to that trigger. And then once we reanimate Emerald, pretty much game over. Hits for 15, which might be enough to just close out the game by itself with shock lands and fetch land damage. Worst case, it's going to wipe away all of our opponent's board, put them down to 0 permanents, and then we figure out a way to win the game at our leisure when our opponent has nothing on the battlefield. So this is kind of the main plan of the deck. Goryo's Vengeance pack one of these 2 creatures. The way we get there is really unique though because we're mono black. So for filling our graveyard, we have a few different options. Pack Rat is especially sweet because Pack Rat is kind of our backup plan for winning the game. So on one hand, we can just pay 3, discard a Griselbrand, discard an Emerald, reanimate it, win that way. On the other hand, we can just make a board full of rats by discarding stuff to Pack Rat and just beat our opponent down. If a Pack Rat goes unchecked, it can take over a game really quickly and just spirals out of control super fast. Liliana gives us another way to do some discarding, while also attacking our opponent's hand, making them sacrifice creatures. And then Liliana the Last Hope, a little weird, but we can take it down to just hopefully mill over a Griselbrand, a Pack Rat, or even an Emerald if we have mana up for Goryo's Vengeance. Also worth noting that with the rules change, we can have Liliana the Veil and Liliana the Last Hope on the battlefield at the same time. So that might be part of the reason to play a split of the 2. If we had just 4 Lilianas of the Veil, extra ones are a little bit more dead than having 1 Liliana the Last Hope since we can both have them out together. The rest of the ways we have for filling our graveyard with our reanimation targets are kind of interesting. So Funeral Charm and Thoughtseize. Obviously, a lot of the time, we're going to throw these at our opponent's face. So we throw them at our opponent's face, make them discard a card. Funeral Charm we can use on our opponent's draw step once they get empty-handed to make them discard the card they drew for the turn, since it's an instant. However, they say target players, so we can always target ourselves. So on turn 1, we can Thoughtseize or Funeral Charm ourselves, discard our Griselbrand. Next turn, Goryo's Vengeance, win the game. Collective Brutality is pretty simple. We can discard either of our big reanimation targets to the Escalate. So we target our opponent with Duress, maybe kill a Goblin Guide or something, use the Escalate to discard our Griselbrand, discard our Emerald, then go from there with the reanimation plan. So not only do these let us, if we need to, get cards in our graveyard if we don't have Pack Rat or Liliana, but they also just tear apart our opponent's hand if they're playing combo decks, playing control decks, get counter spells out of their hand. So really dual purpose discard spells. Shred Memory is a little bit weird. Yes, it's Graveyard Hate, so if we run into Dredge, we got a super sweet matchup because we have main deck Graveyard Hate for some reason. But the real plan here is Shred Memory for just 3 mana can tutor for 2 really important combo pieces. First, it's basically copies 5 through 8 of Goryo's Vengeance. And remember, since we're mono black, you're probably looking at this deck list and thinking, well, we don't have many cantrips, and that is very true. We don't have Faithless Lootings, don't have Serum Visions, so we don't have that many ways to find our pieces. So Shred Memory victory really helps there by tutoring up Goryo's Vengeance. If we already have Goryo's Vengeance, we can also tutor up Collective Brutality to discard our Griselbrand or Emrakul, or if we're on the backup plan, it can hit Pack Rat as well, so a way to tutor up our Pack Rat and go on that plan to win the game. So it actually hits a lot of reasonable targets while also just giving us this random graveyard hate if we run into a graveyard-centric deck. The last two non-land main deck cards, pretty interesting. One Rite of Consumption, one Soul Spike. So these cards let us hopefully close out the game on the turn that we reanimate something, even if we don't have quite enough damage. Rite of Consumption is basically the Black Fling, except it's sorcery speed and it drains our opponent. So they lose life equal to the creature we sack's power, we gain life equal to that creature's power. So this means if we can reanimate our Griselbrand, hit our opponent, draw a bunch of cards, find a Rite of Consumption, we can drain them for 7 more by sacking Griselbrand to Rite of Consumption, which might just close out the game thanks to fetch land damage, shock land damage. If not, it puts the Griselbrand back in the graveyard, so we can use hopefully a Goryo's Vengeance that we drew off the Griselbrand to reanimate it the next turn, instead of having the Griselbrand get exiled to the Goryo's Vengeance ability at the end of our turn. And then Soul Spike can just push through the last point of damage. If we get 7 from a Griselbrand hit, 7 from Rite of Consumption, that's 14. Then we can hopefully cast Soul Spike for free by exiling a couple black cards. That adds up to 18 damage, and that's only 1 untapped shock land, 2 fetch lands to have lethal with just 1 Griselbrand reanimation. So, also, obviously, Rite of Consumption works good with Emrakul. Lethal for sure, pretty much, unless the opponent's gain life. 15 plus 15, 30. And Soul Spike can also just kill the opponent. That's 19 if we hit with Emrakul and are able to Soul Spike in the same turn. Mana base-wise, a few spicy options. Mutavault is great on the Pack Rat plan, since it counts as another rat, pumping up our Pack Rats. Beseju makes sure Goryo's Vengeance, or any of our other spells, don't get countered by whatever, Mana Leaks, Remands, you name it. Shizu Death Storehouse, kinda strange, but it makes our Emrakul or Griselbrand unblockable most of the time, so our opponent can't chump our Griselbrand with Lingering Souls tokens or something like that. Tumi Urami, kind of free roll, does cost us a bit of life, but if we get in the big hit with Emrakul, looking to close out the game, we can always sack our lands, get a 5/5 flyer, that's 1 hit after hitting for 15 with Emrakul. Otherwise, Urborgs and some swamps. In the sideboard, we have plans for beating Graveyard Hate, although they are a bit janky. So if our opponent's bringing in Rest in Pieces, Relic of Progenitus, we can counter this by bringing in Hunted Horror and Torpor Orb. So we just get a 7/7, hopefully on like turn 3. Also, both pieces are 2 mana, so we can shred memory for them. A little bit going deep here, but it could potentially work. Quicksilver Amulet makes a bit of sense as a way we can just put a Griselbrand or Emrakul into play from our hand, avoiding the graveyard altogether. Otherwise, Pithing Needle, Surgical Extraction, Ratchet Bomb give us some interaction. Ratchet Bomb is especially important dealing with artifacts and enchantments that black is usually pretty bad to deal with. Fulminator and Smallpox, great against Tron, attacking our opponent's mana base, and that is Mono Black Reanimator for Modern. And that's our instant deck for today, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.